Leonie and the Last Wolf by Mary Hoffman. I'm just going to play outside, Leonie called to her childminder. All right, dear, but wrap up warm, Mrs. Collins called back. She was busy giving Leonie's little twin brothers their tea. Leonie pulled on her thick red anorak and her gloves. She put on her red boots and then picked up a basket she had been hiding in the hall. She wasn't going out to play at all. She was going to visit her grandmother. Granny Maple lived a bus ride away on the other side of town, and she wasn't well. Leonie had heard her parents talking about it at breakfast, and she knew they were worried. Back and forth they had talked over Leonie's head, while they packed their bags for work, spooned cereal into the babies, and loaded all the children into the car to go to Mrs. Collins. No one asked Leonie what she thought about it, although she was 7. So she had grabbed a little basket, filled it with what she could, and hidden it under her anorak. Now, standing at the bus stop, she wondered if she'd brought the right sort of things for a sick granny. 1 packet of licorice all sorts, 2 satsumas, a comic, and a carton of milk didn't look much in her basket. Leonie shivered, in spite of her warm anorak and hood. It was lonely at the bus stop, and it was a very cold afternoon. A few flakes of snow drifted down. Leonie decided to walk to the high street, where she knew there were more people and a choice of 2 buses to Granny's. She knew all about getting there, and had even brought her purse. Walking fast to keep warm, Leonie realized she would have to pass the end of Lupus Alley. She had always been a bit scared of its dark entrance, and as she approached it, she quickened her step even more. Just as she drew level with its shadowy opening, a large grey dog slunk out of it and barred her way. Leonie was a brave girl, but she was scared of big dogs. He was enormous, with big white teeth and a lolling red tongue. He looked just like a wolf. Then he spoke. "Where are you going to all alone, little girl?" "To see my grandmother, who is not well," replied Leonie, and as she said it, realized that it was not a wise thing to say to a talking wolf. But instead of saying, "And where does your grandmother live?" the animal said, "But you shouldn't be out on your own at your age. It is very dangerous. Do your parents know?" "No," said Leonie, "but I know the way." The animal looked at her with big amber eyes and said, "I will come with you if you like and look after you." Leonie looked at him doubtfully. "But aren't you a wolf?" He sighed. "The wolf. The last one in England. Are you scared of me?" "No," said Leonie, because she wasn't any more. "Should I be?" "Of course not," said the wolf. "I won't hurt you." "But why are you the last wolf? What happened to the others?" "They were all killed, hunted, shot, trapped, poisoned," said the wolf, looking sadly down his long nose. "But that's terrible," cried Leonie, and she put her arm around the wolf's neck. "You are very unusual," he said, nuzzling her face. "Most people are scared of wolves." Leonie looked at her new friend. "I don't think they'll let you on the bus," she said. "Then let's walk," said the wolf. "You lead the way and I'll follow at your heels. People will think I'm just your big dog." So Leonie and the wolf set off down the road to the high street. It was getting dark and the street lamps were coming on. As Leonie came to a side street, 2 big boys on skateboards nearly crashed into her. But the wolf leapt in front of her and stood with his hackles up and his teeth bared. The skateboarders goggled at him, swerved and fell off. Then they picked up their boards and ran. "You see what I mean?" said the wolf. "You are too small to be out alone." Leonie was glad to get to the brightly lit town centre. But there were other dangers here. Cars drove too fast, honking and screeching round corners. Leonie knew her green cross code, but some of the drivers didn't bother to signal. The wolf stopped her from stepping into the path of several turning cars. At the last crossing before Granny Maple's block, Leonie waited patiently for the lights to change. The snow was falling thickly now, and it was quite dark. but Leonie felt warm from the walk and safe with all the people at the crossing and her own personal wolf. Suddenly, there was a snarl and a yelp. The wolf had dashed around Leonie and now held in his jaws the hand of a man who was trying to take Leonie's purse from her basket. The other people at the lights realized what was going on. Fancy taking a little girl's money. Ought to be ashamed of himself. The wolf opened his mouth and the thief disappeared quickly into the snow, holding his wrist. "Good guard dog you've got there," said an old lady, patting the wolf approvingly. Leonie stuffed the purse into her anorak pocket. "Not far now," she whispered to the wolf. Granny Maple's house was right on the main road. It was rather shabby, with the paint peeling off the door and the windows. Before she rang the bell, Leonie flung both her arms around the wolf's neck and buried her face in his yellow-grey fur. It was wet with melting snowflakes and smelled of forests. "You are the best wolf in England," said Leonie, "even if you are the last." The wolf gently licked the salty tears from the corner of her eyes. "I must go now, Leonie. I know how the story of the grandmother and the little girl and the wolf ends. Since I am the last wolf, I must be careful." Just then the door opened and a wedge of lemon-coloured light fell on the path. There in the doorway was Leonie's father. He snatched her up in his arms, kissing her and telling her off at the same time. "Oh, you naughty girl! We've been so worried about you." The wolf slipped out of the light and over the broken wall like a shadow in the snow. Before her father closed the door, Leonie could feel that the wolf had gone. While Dad went to phone Leonie's mum, she crept up the stairs and into Granny's bedroom. Granny wasn't lying in bed in a nightgown and frilly nightcap. She was packing a suitcase and wearing her warm winter coat. She hugged Leonie and told her that she was coming to stay with them. "Yes," said Dad, appearing in the doorway. "We think Granny is getting too old to be on her own. It's too dangerous." Granny made a little face that only Leonie could see. Leonie thought about how she was too young to be on her own, and wished that Granny Maple could have met the wolf. Dad carried Granny's cases to the car, and Leonie and Granny sat inside eating licorice all sorts, while Dad cleaned the snow off the windscreen. Leonie rubbed a dark circle on her window. Granny's little house looked sad to be left on its own. Then Granny said, "Look at that beautiful dog." Leonie looked out through her peephole and saw her wolf for the last time. "Can't stand that kind myself," said her father cheerfully, getting in and starting the car. "They always look too much like wolves for me." Granny turned round to smile at Leonie and winked.